Gil here with Sailing Vessel Dream Chaser, and I've talked about this before. I'm now going to run a test that is beyond the epoxy test I did before. I have another piece of deck surface here. You can see this is what it looked like before I cleaned it. This still has some of the old glue and epoxy on it. Nothing done to this. This section is sanded much like the top of the deck is today. I used a 36 grit carbide wheel, cup wheel, and I just ground this relatively smooth, but it's not all the way down to glass. There's still a little bit of the old gel coat and some of the adhesive that was used to hold down the teak. Then over here I've ground it all the way down directly to the fiberglass itself. And what I'm going to do here is I'm now doing a test of polyester resin. I believe that polyester resin will probably be strong enough, and I understand that it doesn't adhere quite as well as epoxy. However, I'm of the belief that the rest of the boat is all fiberglass reinforced polyester, and I think that this will be adequately strong, stronger than the initial strength of the build, and not overkill. I really respect Andy from Boatworks Today, and one of the things he said on this subject was, epoxy is like a 10-ton crane, polyester resin's like an 8-ton crane, and yes, 10 tons is stronger than 8, but the job you have only requires a 3-ton lift. I think it's a great analogy to say, is epoxy a better or stronger adherence and mechanical bond? I think the answer is kind of undeniably yes, but the question is polyester resin a bad bond? Is it a bond that's going to be too weak or not strong enough for the job at hand? And I believe the answer to that is no, it is absolutely not a weak substance, that it's going to be sufficient. But this is my way of testing. Before I do my entire deck, this is my way to validate it. So I have some polyester resin, I have some MEKP catalyst, and I'm going to be mixing this up and putting woven roving down over this in 2 layers, maybe 3, and then I'm going to try and destroy it and see where this breaks loose, and if it breaks loose at this, this bond that has the material on it or the fiberglass directly. More to come. Okay, getting all my materials ready here. All right, so what I have here is some 24-ounce woven roving. I don't know if you've ever seen these little spouts, but they are phenomenal for pouring. They keep it from getting all in the rim of the can, which is great. All right, I'm gonna take this right to this 16-ounce line. All right, I'm at 4 cc's, gonna put that catalyst in there. Just like the epoxy, I wanna mix it long enough for it to settle in good. A full 1 minute is appropriate. I want to get it through all the edges here. Now I'm using a polyester resin with no wax. They refer to this as a laying up solution, and if I do it this way, I actually do not have to sand between layers. It remains a little bit tacky, so if you were actually doing a project, you would do this until you'd build up all your layers, and then your last layers would be a polyester resin with wax, and that way you can sand it smooth and it doesn't remain tacky. That's the surface you would ultimately put whatever your finish would be on it, your primer and then your finish. In my case, this is a test. I'm okay if it remains tacky, so I have the no wax polyester resin. For the sake of comparison, to buy a gallon of West Systems epoxy 105 resin is about $100, $90 or $99, depending on where you get it. The 209 Special Slow Hardener runs about $70 per equivalent amount to do that gallon, so it yields you about 1.5 gallons. This polyester resin, I actually paid more for this one than I have seen it online. This one was $27 a gallon, and you saw I only need 4 ounces of 4 cc's of catalyst, so let's assume it only yields 1 gallon. So take that $30, let's multiply it by 1.5 to get us the equivalent of the same amount of epoxy resin. So you take your $30, so $45 compared to $175. The price differences are staggering. It's about 35% the overall cost. All right, Got that set in there. It's time for our first piece of roving. I'm just going to lay that on here. Pretty well. And then again, for ease here, I'm basically just going to pour my fiberglass polyester resin right over it. It just dawned on me I did not bring the fin roller. That was a mistake. I'll see if I have something I can roll this with. Obviously, when I do this job on the deck, I will be using the fin roller to get every piece of this material down. Trash. Into the trash. Into the trash. My little syringe pieces here, put those into the trash as best I can. And here's the beauty of all of this. You can essentially just take these gloves, take one off, inside out, the other one off, inside out. I am cleaned up. We're going to let that cure overnight and see how our test is. So that's step one of our test. We'll come back when that dries, we'll take a look at it, see how it looks, and I'll share it with you. I'm back at the storage unit. It's just before 8 a.m. in the morning. Yesterday it was about noon or so that we put the fiberglass down. And I just want to take a quick look at it and see how it's looking. So join me, check it out. There's a good chance it's not going to be set up yet, but I want to take a look. All right, you might recall I put this little piece of sandpaper just under the edge because I didn't want it to completely adhere everywhere. I want a spot where I can get a pry bar underneath this and pop it loose. So I'm going to stand the camera back up on the tripod here and take a look at this. All right, so it feels like it may still be tacky. Wow, it sure is. This is still tacky. What I don't know is if I've done something incorrect here. Folks, I'm back here at the storage shed. It has been about 50 hours, so just a little over 2 full days since we put down those 2 layers of woven woving and 2 more layers of cross-strand mat on top of this on our test piece. So let's see what our results look like. I'm a little bit concerned. This still feels a bit tacky to me, and I'm worried that I just put too much resin on it. I got a little sloppy and a little quick, and I didn't even have the fin roller, but let's take a closer look. So I've read about no-wax resin, and they say that it remains tacky, but I cannot imagine it remains this tacky. This is actually not adhered. I could separate this if I so desired. And that's clearly not right. I have to assume this is an operator error. There's no possible reason that this should look the way it does, and it is just not bonding at this point. So I'm going to go back and double check my measurements. Maybe I got the hardener ratio wrong or something. I shouldn't say hardener, the catalyst wrong. I'm going to take another look at it and see. So all in all, this first test was an absolute failure. I have not made up my mind that I should not use polyester resin yet. I do believe I must have done something incorrect. I want to try this again. I'm going to run through a whole nother series of tests. I did contact the manufacturer. They did let me know that there's a good chance that I should have mixed the catalyst a little stronger. It recommends 1%. However, because it was in the low 70s, temperature-wise, they did recommend that I could go as high as double on the catalyst. catalyst. So I'm gonna retry this, but I might actually wait until it's a bit warmer in the 75-80 degree range, and I'm probably just gonna try one layer at a time in one of my future tests, just to see how that works versus trying to lay 3 layers at a time. I wasn't sure the right approach to do this, so I just went ahead and tried it with doing multiple layers all at the same time. So I hope you find this interesting. I've said before, I will show the entire process we go through, whether it was successful or it was not. And I'm hoping that by doing this, others can learn from our mistakes. I guess it certainly wasn't a raving success here. So I really do want to thank everybody for watching the channel. I really do appreciate the comments, the feedback. I've received a bunch of it. It's been really helpful. So from the Sailing Vessel Dream Chaser, we'll see you next week.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching, and please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or even Tumblr. Please take a moment and go over to our website at svdreamchaser.com to download free resources for cruising and how-to projects. Get your thumbs and mouses ready. We also have a couple of links right on the screen for some other playlists and videos that we think you'll enjoy. Thanks for watching, fellow dreamers.